Hello, my name is Typhoon, and in this lecture of our Ocsaly course, we will develop and create an application that we will use all the constraint layout information that we learned in previous lectures. So let's get started. As I mentioned in previous lectures more than once, Google has made a significant change to the Android Studio Layout Editor tool, many of which were made solely to support user interface layout design using the constraint layout. And now that the basic concepts of constraint layout have been outlined in the previous lectures, this lecture will explore the concepts in more detail while outlining the ways in which the Layout Editor tool allows the constraint layout-based user interface to be designed and implemented. So, in previous lectures, we explained the Android Studio Layout Editor tool provides two ways to weave the user interface layout of an activity of the form of design a layout to weavers. So, these weavers of the layout may be displayed individually or can be selected like this here. So this is the blueprint, select the design modes, blueprint, or design and blueprint. If you have the colorblind situation, you can also select the colorblind options from here, as you can see here. Colorblind, 3 to knobs, and this is the colorblind options for colorblind developers here. So in this case, we're going to select this. So here, so these views of the layout may be displayed individually, as I said, and you can also select a design here. So here the design view, here the position of this here, represents it. What you see is what you get. This is the representation of the layout. So where then the layout appears as it will with the running application. So the layout view, on the other hand, displays here. This is the blueprint style of view where the widgets are represented by the shaded outlines. So as can be seen here. So layout view also displays the constraint connections in the case here like this. And it's also possible with the design mode here. And the appearance of constraint connection in both views can be changed using the weave options here. And you can also show the all constraints here, and in this case you're going to see all the constraints here. Let's actually use the design and blueprint, and in this case you're going to see all the constraints here. So in addition to the two modes of displaying the user interface layout, the Layout Editor tool also provides 3 different ways of established constraints required for specific layout design. We also have the Auto Connect mode here. So the Auto Connect, as the name suggests, automatically established constraint connections as items are added to the layout. Auto Connect mode may be enabled and disabled using the toolbar button here. This is the Auto Connect here, and in this case, we're gonna here. This is the disable Auto Connect. So in this case, we will disable or enable Auto Connect here. So Auto Connect mode uses algorithms to decide the best constraints to established based on the position of the widget and the widget's proximity on the both sides of the parent layout and other elements in the layout. So in the event of that any of the automatic constraints connection fail to provide the described behavior, these may be changed manually as outlined. We will outline in the next lectures. And we also have the inference mode. This is the most important mode here that we will use in next lecture. So inference mode uses a heuristic approach involving algorithms and probabilities to automatically implement constraint connections after widgets have already been added to the layout. So this mode is usually used when the auto connect feature has been turned off and the object have been added to the layout without any constraints connections. So this allows the layout to be designed simply by dragging and dropping object from the plate. For example, in this case, we're gonna create a switch here, and as you can see, we have no constraints at all here. So now we're gonna click on the Auto Connect mode here, infer constraints here, and as you can see here, it infer the constraints what we liked here. So if we run our device here, you will see what our switch would look like. So And as with the auto connect mode here, there's always a possibility that the layout editor tool will infer incorrect constraints, though this may be modified or corrected manually. So in this case, I don't think we have any trouble with the constraints that the auto infer constraints function provided for us. And here, as you can see, this is our switch button. Buttons are buttons, text, and this is our switch button here, as you can see here. And we can also manipulate constraints manually. So the third option for implementing constraint connection is to do so manually. So when doing so, it will helpful to understand the various handles to appear around the widget within the layout editor tool. So now I'm gonna delete all of these constraints here, and we will add from the 0 here. So here we will add a button here, and I think, yeah, with this button we can also use the magnet here. We will disable it and infer the constraints here, delete the good line here. Oops, we got an error here. As you can see, our screen is not showing us here, only the design mode here. So now we're gonna make it like that, and infer constraints, infer constraints, infer constraints here. So this is button at the top here, and we will also make this like that here. So now we're gonna see the button at the top center of the screen. So here clearly we have a spring-like lines here. This represents established constraint connections from the sides of the widget to the targets, and we have the small square marks here. This here in each corner of the object are resize handles, which when clicked and dragged serve to resize the widget like this here. We can run our application or stop our application, see what's wrong here, and as you can see, it's resized the button. Let's run it and see what happened here. And we also have the small circle handles here. This is the small circle handles. This is located on the each side of the widget, and are the side constraints anchors. So to create a constraint connection, click on the handle and drag it where you want here, and drag the resulting line to the element which constraints you need to create in this section, or constraints you need to connect here, such as grid line or the side of the either parent layout or another widget as outlined in previous lectures. So when connecting the side of another widget, simply drag the line to the side of the constraint handle and to the widget here, and release the line with the widget and handle highlight here. So if the constraints line is dragged to the widget and released but not attached to the constraint handle, the layout editor will display menu containing list of the sides to which the constraint may be attached. So in this case, we're gonna add another switch, and the switch is gonna be, we will make the switch to constraints here. This is, as you can, our line. We will connect it to the under the button here and create a margin of 100. And we can also make it like that. This is the weird way to implement thing like that, but it's not the best practice. So you can also make it like that. Oops, I think we are having a trouble with our system here. So here, make it like that, and this is our constraints that we just made here. So let's run our application and see what happens next. And as you can see here, we have the huge button here and switch, which is constrained here. So whenever we turn this phone like this here, and you will see that our switch is gone, which we will fix that in next lectures. So I'm waiting you in next lecture.